Hey everyone, it's Brandy from Brandy Burrow Astrology, back with Ellie Adams from YouTube channel Let's F with Astrology. Welcome, Ellie.
Thank you for having me again.
I want to point out something very important before we proceed.
Good.
Ellie has fabulous makeup today. There is a shadow being casted right here. Here, point it out so everyone can see it. It's just a shadow, guys. It's not smeared makeup, mascara.
Yeah, I'm not that bad at, well, I'm not like awesome at my makeup, but I'm not that bad at it. But before we started filming, I was like, what the fuck is this?
I told her I would make sure we were all clear that she did a fabulous job, and I don't know if we'll notice it, but just in case, it's Mercury retrograde. We should over clarify, it's just no misunderstandings. Okay. So today we've been recording, we kind of like to matchy match if we can on our subjects for our, I guess it's usually forensic astrology. This is more event astrology today. Today we're covering the insurrection, January 6th, Capitol attacks, the U.S. Capitol attacks. On Ellie's channel, you can find something kind of similar, Civil War, when it broke out or began.
Kickoff.
The kickoff. So, and that's kind of interesting. I think we're going to see some similarities on the astrology here. So make sure you go to her channel at Let's F with Astrology to check out Civil War. And today we're going to discuss the insurrection. And so I don't want to be polarizing, but I don't want to waste anyone's time. If you're a Trump supporter, and if you think these attacks were warranted, you're not going to enjoy this one. So you might as well turn it off. But we are going to look at the event. I mean, yeah, you're just not going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm not on that side at all. So with that being said, here's what I want to do to give a little background. I'm sure we have all heard about this event. I'm just going to read the short little paragraph on Wikipedia because they beautifully state this is the lead up. Here it is. And so on January 6, 2021, following the defeat of U.S. President Donald Trump in the 2020 presidential election, a mob of his supporters attacked the United States Capitol building in Washington, D.C. The mob sought to keep Trump in power by preventing a joint session of Congress from counting the Electoral College votes to formalize the victory of President-elect Joe Biden. According to the House Select Committee that invested the incident, the attack was a culmination of a 7-part plan by Trump to overturn the election. 5 people died either shortly before, during, or following the event. 1 was shot by Capitol Police, another died of a drug overdose, and 3 died of natural causes. Many people were injured, including 138 police officers. 4 officers who responded to the attack died by suicide within 7 months. And as of July 7th, 2022, monetary damages caused by attackers exceeded $2.7 million. So there you go. That's kind of like the intro to this. I just thought that would make more sense to me trying to explain it.
No, I get that because I have a real bitch of a time trying to concisely and quickly break things.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm just gonna credit Wikipedia and read their paragraphs. There you go. Shall we dive into the astrology?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. So here is the beginning. Make sure you can see that insurrection, January 6, 2021. Can we see that?
Yes.
Should I zoom in or is it good?
Maybe zoom just a little bit. Maybe zoom.
How's that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is January 6, 2021 at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And I really got these timestamps from, just the timeline of the day. This is when the rioters actually started attacking the building and trying to get in. So this is really the beginning of this. Ellie, what do you notice about this chart?
Well, there are a couple of things. First, I noticed the little fuck fest that's going on between Mars and Uranus. They're not in the same sign, right? Mars is in Aries, and Uranus is in Taurus. but we also saw this in the Civil War chart, but both in Gemini. So I do notice that little fuck fest that's kept my attention.
Yeah, that's a similarity. They're in different signs, but there's a conjunction happening between these planets.
Yes.
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 You know, I remember during this time, actually, I mean, it's only 2 years ago. I don't mean like, but
like way back in the day.
I remember leading up. I'll say that. Because if you remember, this is when Mars had been in Aries for like 6 months because it was in Aries, retrograded, and it went forward. So it ended up being in Aries for like 6 months. And this was happening like during the election. And I remember as an astrologer, I was like, actually, and I never blogged about it, but I was like, what the hell is going to happen when Mars hits 29 degrees Aries for the final time during this transit? Because I was actually like, this is weird. And there's a lot going on. So I actually remember being like, oh, so this is what's happening.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, that conjunction of Mars and Uranus, it's also, well, Mars is anyway, squaring the Pluto.
Yes, it is.
Which we'll see later how it hits on the US's chart. But that's, I mean, Pluto and Mars in a square. Yikes.
Yeah.
And
yeah, at the antiretrograde, and then adding in that the unpredictability with Uranus there.
Yeah. And it being a strong Mars in Aries in the home sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think about that 12th house placement?
You know, I've been thinking about this a little bit. Okay, and then you've got, like you have that 12th house, right? That Mars is actually intercepted.
Mm-hmm.
12th house.
Oh,
did it go away?
Yes, that's me. Hi. As you were saying.
Okay, so like you got Pisces on the cusp of the 12th. Then you've got that Mars intercepted, Taurus on the cusp of the 1st. Okay, like I don't even know how I want to word this.
We should just talk through it.
It does feel like, not to mention that, okay, I'm also kind of talking through this a little bit. Jupiter, one of the rulers of Pisces, right? It's conjunct that Saturn. It feels like that is also something I noticed, that conjunction right there, right? And that was, right after the great conjunction actually took place on what was it, on like the 21st of December of 2020, right? So this is pretty close to when that happened. I do feel like there is something perhaps about this event that may not have been known to the people that were doing this event. Does that make sense?
They were duped.
Yeah, like they're yeah. And I gotta say this also, that square to Pluto and that Pluto in the 9th. Mm-hmm. This makes me feel like foreign involvement.
Yeah, which, I mean, this whole time, I'm sorry, this is just a polarizing discussion.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But this whole time with Trump even being in office has brought in foreign involvement.
Yes. Yes.
That's not the first time we're seeing that or hearing about it or there being a theory about it.
I think it totally comes in here for it. Just, I don't know. There's something about that Pluto in the 9th, and then you've got those there's something kind of,
well, and at this time, remember, QAnon was freaking huge or just coming off high. And I mean, I think that's been, I don't know, proven is a word, but pretty much determined that these people were in the Philippines running it. I think they're Americans, expats, but I don't know. I don't know if that's something with the 9th house Pluto or not.
It could be. Could be. Absolutely. Yeah, it could be.
It's interesting about the Saturn Jupiter conjunction there. I mean, it's not usually you get a sense of balance with these planets, or they're the struggle, but it kind of, they balance each other out because they're so like different
One
planets.
expands, one restricts, one, yes, there, I mean, yes.
You still see a little bit of a fight, but there's a little bit more, I don't know, I don't want to say control, but balance between the two. But here, I mean, there's nothing balanced about this day, I guess, with Mars and Uranus teaming up, squaring Pluto, but
Yeah, there's not. Yeah.
yeah. And then that moon, a via combusta moon.
Yes,
Intercepted in the 6th house.
Yes. There's, okay. Okay, I don't know how to say this in a way that's not going to sound like tacky, but it's almost like, okay, like in the video about the Civil War, we were talking about like servitude and slavery perhaps being a 6th house thing.
Yeah.
This makes me think these people were slaves to something and they didn't even realize it.
I totally believe that.
That's what
I'm saying. If you're on the side of Trump, you're not going to enjoy this. But yes, it's absolutely what it looks like here.
And I'm sorry if anybody is watching this and they are, but that is, and it's because I know how I said that didn't sound tacky, but that is what when I see that, and then I see that other, yeah, it's like not realizing you are a slave to something or what you're serving.
And I mean, we'll go ahead and bring Neptune in here. Neptune in Pisces, which interesting. I saw that before with the Civil War charts. It was sitting in Pisces, different degree. When it started. But in the 11th house, a lot of these people thought they were going to be pardoned. Like, let's go fight. Trump's gonna be on our side and pardon us. Gosh, talk about a Neptune in the 11th house of being duped, and
yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it's also those that Neptune is squaring the nodes, which feels like it's almost like a lesson in this case, or you know what I mean, like a lesson or a,
well, it's definitely a learning experience. You got the nodes in Sag and Gemini.
Yes.
Learning energies.
Yes. That chart ruler of this chart, Venus.
Sorry, incense.
In the 8th, conjunct the galactic center. These are like, okay, like, and Venus conjunct the GC doesn't have to be like it doesn't have to be like warped values in a negative way. It doesn't have to be.
Sure.
But I do think that in this case it probably was going that way.
Yeah.
But again, there's even something secret, like hidden about this too, right? Because we're talking about the 8th house. It's just,
it's not knowing what you're stepping into, maybe not even knowing what you're fighting for. Of course, this was all delivered upon a lie that I really won, and so a lot of these people thought they were doing the right thing, standing up for, quote, their country, I could see that kind of being an 8th house thing, secrets or.
Yeah.
So this was like, kind of when this whole thing starts beginning. And then I have a chart for when shit starts getting real. When one of the rioters actually gets killed because she doesn't follow the commands of the Capitol Police.
I wonder if the Venus in the 8th in that one chart could also point to the deaths too that did take place there as well.
Yeah, when this rioter gets killed, you actually have the chart ruler.
Oh, you do. Yep.
And then we got Gemini on the ascendant, multiple victims, because I mean, you had police officers that ended up dying. You had this rioter killed, multiple deaths or victims involved.
Mhm. Yep.
But now you have this Mars Uranus conjunction in the 11th house.
Which is, you know, groups and things like that.
I also feel like this points out the 11th house hopes and aspirations, like people really wanting certain like results, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I could totally see that. Mhm. Yeah.
And what I find interesting here is that Sun in the 8th house, you have Saturn getting ready to enter the 8th house. It's 1 degree away. By horary rules, you would consider it 8th house. These are the planets that would really signify like the leader here, who's in charge, which at the time, you know, Trump is still president because, you know, it's between election and inauguration,
Yeah.
right? So we have the leader here in 8th house hiding, which he was doing during this time. He was hiding, and people and around him were calling on him to ask them to leave, saying, hey, we got to get this under control. You need to put out tweets telling them to leave. You need to give them commands. And he wasn't doing it. He was hiding and watching the news coverage.
Yeah, and that also, yeah, and bringing that Saturn into play also with Aquarius on the midheaven, right? It also kind of, yeah, and like he's, yeah, slipping into the, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That that Sagittarius descendant catches my attention too.
Do we want to look up fixed stars?
I actually, on the other chart, I actually had some written down. I don't, not on this one, but on the other one, I did actually have some written down that were good to look at.
Go back. Let's.
Why I looked at that ahead of time, I'm not really sure, but I did, and I was like, ooh.
That's interesting. I know we usually, well, me anyway. I'm like, while we're recording, let's look at fixed stars.
Yeah, I usually do the same thing, but for some reason, there's just a lot going on here. I was like, ooh, I'm kind of curious.
Yes, I got the original chart pulled back up for when this shit starts. And what fixed stars did you have on this one?
Okay, there is one at 29 Aries. Not gonna try to pronounce it. Unifying influence with groups. It is fortunate for Mars and Mercury. Now that kind of, I mean, not that this was a fortunate event, but I mean, they did all come together, right? So I guess in that kind of a sense, it was fortunate, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was actually a time when they came together and actually took the command, and like, I mean,
yeah,
you're seeing since then that Trump has called on people lots of times to protest, and like nothing really kind of happens.
but they did. Yeah,
They did this time. Yeah, I could see it being like taking it more seriously, maybe.
Yeah. There's also one at 15 degrees Scorpio. I looked at that, the descendant of this chart. Loss, theft, betrayal, abuse, venereal disease, poisoning, drowning, anguish, revenge, and criminality.
I think those all apply to Trump.
I think they do too. Sorry, excuse me. Let me see. What was the other one? There are a bunch around Saturn and Jupiter. Like a bunch. There's one at 0 degrees Aquarius, 104 Aquarius, 115 Aquarius, 147 Aquarius, 346 Aquarius, and 534. There are a bunch. But I guess the one that would be the closest, well, the one that's smack between both of them, not going to try to pronounce it. Beneficence? I can't pronounce anything. You know what I'm trying to say.
I do.
Peculiar events. Love affairs and great good fortune. I'm not really sure who this was fortunate for. But the peculiar event thing, I think, kind of fits.
Yeah.
Then there's also the one at 534 that would be closest to Jupiter. Keen intellect, good for business, military analysis.
Okay.
And then there's the other one that's at 147 Aquarius. Sudden but ephemeral fortune, impulsiveness, courage, accidents, astrology, and writing.
Ah.
Yeah. Those are the ones that are closest, but there are other ones, you know, that we're somewhat close to. Those were the three closest though. I also looked at Pluto, I think. 23, there's one at 2349 Capricorn. Oh wait, is that one the closest one? Let me see.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm actually looking up something you had asked me earlier real quick about Venus.
Oh, if it was out of bounds?
That's what I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, see if that's out of bounds. See if any of them are out of bounds too, because a lot of times I find that when planets are conjunct the GC, they end up being out of bounds if they can go out of bounds.
Yeah, it's not. I'm gonna actually share this so we can all look at it together.
It doesn't, it's not always, but a lot of the time they you know.
Here's my desktop. You're seeing the whole thing, but here's the is that 22?
Okay, so it's okay, so not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Not quite. So I just wanted
are any of the other ones?
Let me put it back on here. No, I don't. Well, no.
No, okay. Okay, I was curious. Yeah, so they're definitely those fixed stars. I think there might have even been one at 6 Taurus. Right around there too. Yes, there's one at 7 degrees 40 minutes of Taurus, so within a degree.
Yeah, that works.
Violence, cruelty, brutality. Also the quote healer. Which is weird.
That is weird.
But I guess this is, you know, an event like this, while there's nothing healing about it, it does kind of show, wow, there's something really fucking wrong here.
Something wrong. I don't know if this would count as healing. There were major consequences for, you know, the writers that were identified, and I do think it calms some people down as far as these things happening, because they're like, oh shit, I'm going to jail or prison, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be considered healing, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, or even just this event showing that things need to be healed.
Yeah.
Like that healing needs to, in some capacity, happen in some way.
Yeah. So, you know, you have the January 6th chart. You have the chart, you know, from when it began. We have the one from when a rioter is actually shot and killed. Each one has the chart ruler in the 8th house of death, secrets, hidden. Did you want to see any of these charts again, or did you want to look at
the US one with it?
Yes, I have the US.
Do it.
Compared to when it began.
Okay.
Let me zoom in a bit. There we go. And we looked at the US's chart on the Civil War episode with those comparisons. So we're kind of looking at this one again, seeing what's happening. You know, on this chart, you got that huge Capricorn stellium over the second house of values. We're getting values again. This time, though, we got Mercury sitting right on Pluto. We got Pluto within 3 degrees. We're technically in a return here. So, you know, uprising and conflict is not unheard of with Pluto conjunct Pluto.
Absolutely. Look at that North Node Mars.
Yeah, the transiting North Node in Gemini on the natal, I guess you can say, the US is Mars
Yeah.
in the 7th house.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, and I know this happens like every 18 or, 18, 19 years, whatever, 18 and a half years. But I don't know. It just feels very like ripe like it was supposed to happen. Or something like this was supposed to happen.
Well, and interesting things happen for the US every time Saturn is in Aquarius. We had like the Rodney King riots before.
Yep.
We had the civil rights stuff in the 60s. Anytime, this time we had George Floyd, when it was starting to enter in retrograde. Anytime we get that Saturn and Aquarius for the US, there's big social events, I guess you could say. Uprising, and sometimes necessary, like with civil rights and these things. With Trump staying in office, not so much, but not necessary. But you do tend to see that.
Yeah.
It's a very active time for the US.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so you got the North Node on Mars. We got the South Node pretty close to the ascendant.
Yep, we do.
Now, I'm trying to think how to interpret that, because when you get the North and South Node, we get like karmic issues, or karmic direction, or
it feels like something we need to understand.
Yeah, especially with the Gemini Sag energy.
Yes. And I don't know that we achieved that all the way. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd like to think we did, but I don't know.
I don't think we have, because the person who's created all this is still a front runner in the next presidential race.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's been understanding or not,
Yeah. Which is,
Sorry, I went there.
No, yeah.
Yeah. And if you're watching this video later, this is being recorded Friday, August 25th, just one day after the 4th arrest of Trump. 4th indictment and arrest of Trump. So, but his popularity is still up there as far as the Republican
race.
Yes,
it is. Yeah, it is.
So
I'm trying to think. I thought there was something else when I was looking at this. That Jupiter in the event chart is also conjunct the South Node of the US's chart. There really is. There's something about understanding here that I don't think we hit the mark, but I'd like to think we did. We have, but I don't think that we have.
It could also be about beliefs.
Absolutely. Yes.
And I don't know. I'm trying to be like, it's already divisive, I guess, the way we're polarizing, I should say, the conversation that at least I'm presenting here. But
I think everybody knows
you got people, this has been compared to a cult.
Yeah.
And you are seeing here with these South Nodes, there's something to understand. I feel like it's also representing like strong beliefs and having people separating maybe from.
Yeah. Like, there have been comparisons made, like with the cult of personality surrounding him, same as like the leaders in North Korea, right? There's a cult of personality surrounding them too. Yeah.
Now, my thought, kind of moving forward where we're at now in current events, because this is very much the background to current events right now with what we have going on. We have Trump starting to face charges. The astrology, one thing I was looking up, Ellie, when we were getting off the video earlier, I was trying to see when Pluto was going to hit the US's Pluto for the final time, because Pluto's been doing this dance between Capricorn and Aquarius because of retrograde.
Yeah.
It's going to hit it for the final time at that 27-degree mark. Let me double check
Is it in October?
It's October. I think it actually begins in September. That's what I was checking the actual date here. Yeah, kind of like September 20th, 21st.
Okay.
All through October of 2023 until November 1 to be on that exact degree. Now, anything can happen really within a couple degrees, but it's going to hit that final time. And I tend to see, like, when these planets retrograde and go back and forth, that final hit tends to be kind of like, ooh, like we saw during COVID with some of these retrogrades, like some of the spikes and peaks in COVID were happening with the final hits, you know. And so this is happening September, October. There's just a lot going on with the
Don't we also have an eclipse?
Yeah.
That'll happen in October as well? At the end?
Let's look.
I think we do. I think it's, what is it, 28th, 29th? The last one on the Taurus Scorpio axis.
I'll look it up. And let me do a screen share. You guys can kind of see this with me. Good old Astro Gold. So this is US. This is where we're actually at today. Let me look up events. Let's look up eclipses.
This is actually kind of cool. I've got Astro Gold, but I have it on like the iPad and the phone. I don't have it on a I don't have a Mac laptop or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit of an investment, but man, it's a one-time investment and it's amazing. Yeah. So October 14th, we have the solar eclipse in the anaretic degree. That's kind of interesting, on top of Saturn in the chart.
Try like October 28th or 29th.
Ah, hell. What I'll do is go back up to events, make this easier. There we go. So this would be lunar.
Yeah.
Or the 6th and 12th house of the US. We have a lot going on, not only with the US, but with Joe Biden's chart, with Kamala Harris. You know, Joe Biden's in a loosing of the bond, which really probably is saying he's a one-term president in some way. Kamala's in a peak period in zodiacal releasing while he's going through a loosing of the bond. So there's something career-wise that's very beneficial for her. And of course, I'm not predicting anything here, but I'm just saying it's really interesting that the US is going through a lot of change. It's going through a final Pluto return until the next 200-something years from now. And we got things going on with the leaders. So,
yeah.
It's kind of like stay tuned. But, you know, I am interested in this is August 25th today. In the next month to like November 1st, from like September to November 1st. What the hell is going to happen with that final hit? Maybe we're already with the arrests. I don't know, but
I'm really curious. Yeah, I'm curious what we see from those arrests. I am curious. I am curious what actually comes from that. We definitely, you mentioned before, looking at Biden and Harris's charts. You've mentioned that. I would totally love to do that at some point.
Yeah, maybe we'll dive into those. Yeah, it's I don't know what the next election looks like. I'll just put it that way, because it's I think most astrologers are agreeing too, you know, with Biden being in a loosing of the bond, that's not usually a second win. That's a change in career. And whether that be because he has to step down, whether it be because he gets beat by an opponent, or other circumstances. I don't know. It's really odd though.
I don't think I'd want, I'll just be straight up. I don't think I'd want the job, this particular election.
Oh,
And not because, not because like, it's just a difficult job. Like who the fuck, like I wouldn't want it, period. But the timing of it, I just wouldn't want it. Like pass, pass.
yeah. Things are fucked right now.
Yeah. And
Like,
also there's something about like, with back to the Civil War thing, Lincoln was elected in 1860 and he was reelected again, right?
mhm.
And then he's assassinated. I don't know. I have this, it's just this feeling. I'll say this feeling, not a prediction, but a feeling. I don't know. Whoever wins next may not live long.
Fill the term.
Yeah.
And that's not, I mean, if Joe Biden is elected, he'll be 82 years old on Inauguration Day, and it's getting up there in age where, anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's weird. The losing of the bond thing is what gets me. Like, it's not really just age or anything like that. Losing of the bonds, like, something just points at that probably being one term. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Yeah. I could see that.
So
we need to tackle this.
Okay.
So
that sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, Ellie, thank you for joining me again for another astrology episode. I usually say forensic. This is more event astrology, I suppose. But where can everyone find you?
I can be found on YouTube at Let's F with Astrology. I'm on Instagram at Saturn Season Astrology. And my website is SaturnSeason.com. And Brandy, where can you be found?
Be found at brandyburrowastrology.com and on YouTube and Instagram, Brandy Burrow Astrology. Yeah, all right. Make sure you guys go over to Ellie's channel to watch Civil War ones, kind of see some similarities. Very interesting. And
yeah, I mean, because there are, and it is, yeah.
Yeah, things that make you go, but
yeah.
Until next time, we'll be back soon with more. So thank you, Ellie. Thanks, everyone.